Hi there, I'm David, and today we're going to talk about producer surplus and consumer surplus. So let's dive right in. So, consumer surplus, we can see it on the graph there, and producer surplus. But what does this actually mean? So imagine that you are a producer of maybe Raspberry Pi, a beautiful invention. Well, imagine that the price could be changed of the Raspberry Pi and what people are willing to pay for it. That kind of changes based on the price. Some people are real die-hard fans of the Raspberry Pi. So even if you priced it at $1,000 on eBay, there's one guy on there that will buy it because he wants a Raspberry Pi right now, today, yesterday. Even at $900, the same guy, he's still excited for it. But if we lower it down to $100, there are 30 people that are available to purchase that product. But that's not really an optimum solution for the producer because it costs more than $100 to produce it, the kit, the wires, and everything else that come together with it, let alone the operating system and everything else. If we were to reduce it to maybe $600, we get 12, $500, we get 14 consumers. So what would our market balance, our market equilibrium be here? Well, let's take a look here. At $500, we have a nice little drop here at 14, and this seems to be the meeting point between the supply and the demand curve. So we have our optimum or our most efficient market, and anything up here, so base height times by base width divided by 2, or 1/2 times by base height and base width, will end up with our consumer surplus. Now mind you, there's a guy here that's willing to pay $1,000 for it, but he pays $500 for it, so his consumer surplus is $500. And alternatively, our producer surplus has to do with our supply, or how many we are willing to produce, and what we are willing to let it go for. So our producer surplus of 500 means that we end up with another 400 here for producer surplus. We can say this is 500 for the sake of brevity. So we end up with a total of 1,000 total surplus, consumer and producer combined. So let's go into the definition really quick to make sense of it. Producer surplus is the difference between the price sellers are willing to sell each unit for and how much they are sold for. Alternatively, consumer surplus is the difference between the price consumers are willing to pay for it and the actual price of the end unit. So we have our Raspberry Pi on the market, and we can produce as many as we want. So if we produce anything beyond our 14 here, anything from here over would be considered a deadweight loss, or an inefficient price per unit compared to the demand of those units. There aren't enough people that want them at those prices. So that's producer surplus, consumer surplus, and a few ways to visualize that. So before we go anywhere, I'll just kind of highlight how we get this. It's actually really easy. So we have our height and our width, and all we need to do is multiply those together and get half of that. So we have 1/2 our width and height. And the exact same thing can be done for our producer surplus. So we will have our height here, make that a little fatter so you'd see it, and we will have our width here. So again, just 1/2 width, height. Of course you could say base and height or however you want to do it, but that's it. You put those two together and you end up with your total surplus. So imagine you were taking your test or quiz for economics and we were talking about producer surplus or consumer surplus. Let's go through a question really quick and see what your answer would be. I'll test your knowledge with this, then I'll give you the right answer. Producer surplus is best defined as A, the difference between consumer spending and revenue earned by producers. B, the reward gained by producers when they sell their products at high prices. C, the total benefit derived by producers when market is in equilibrium. Or D, the additional benefit producers obtain when the price they are prepared to accept is less than the price they actually receive. All right, 2, 3, pause the video. Okay, what was your answer? The correct answer is D. So, one more time. Producer surplus is best defined as the additional benefit producers obtain when the price they are prepared to accept is less than the price they actually receive. Never be ashamed to make a mistake on a test or an exam. It's one of the best ways to learn. Without mistakes, we cannot grow and we cannot become better. So, with that said, don't forget to subscribe, check out other videos, like, comment, and hit that bell for notifications of future videos. And we'll see you next time.